Bag of Rocks has to be one of the craziest secret layers that's been made from Magic the Gathering so far. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here today for the delightful unveiling of the artwork from the brand new Secret Lair Bag of Rocks. That's an interesting name to pick. That's probably about as close as Wizards is going to get to admitting how addictive what they're selling is. So if you don't know what the name is, Bag of Rocks basically ties into the fact that every card from this Secret Lair is about mana production. An old slang term from Magic the Gathering is mana rock. So these cards are all going to be mana rocks, and they're all going to be kind of crazy and out there. Some of them I absolutely adore, and even the ones that are kind of weird to me, I still like the vibe of. So let's dive in with the first card. We've got Arcane Signet. Now, thankfully, Wizards has provided these Secret Lair images with the card down here and a big old blown up version of the artwork, which looks absolutely fantastic. I honestly wish they had already done this with the Seb McKinnon artwork because I really want to get into that one. But either way, let's start out here looking at Arcane Signet, right? So it's 2 mana for an artifact that says they're all artifacts. Tap, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. It's interesting to see that they've already gone ahead and reprinted Arcane Signet like this. This is what, the second reprint we've seen of Arcane Signet? And Arcane Signet literally was created during the time of Throne of Eldraine. So it's only been a year. This is the third printing of Arcane Signet because they put it in Commander Legends, and it's understandable why. I mean, Wizards created an instant must-have card for Commander, and actually, speaking of which, I'm going to be getting into Commander very soon. So all of a sudden, the value and interest level towards these cards has gone right up for me, and I want this stuff. But Arcane Signet is a very solid card, right? It's only 2 to put out, and it literally will provide 1 color that you need of any of the colors of your deck. That's really difficult to beat. Now, the flavor text says, after using the Signet to finish the miniaturization spell, the novice wizard realized they'd have big shoes to fill. If you like punny kind of jokes, that one, you know, might make you chuckle a little. They shrunk, but they've got big boots to fill. And it's like, well, aren't they? I mean, it looks like in the artwork they've still got footwear kind of going on. We don't see the boots or anything, so the flavor text for me is kind of like, all right, you went for a joke. But the artwork is absolutely amazing. I do like the idea of like a novice mage getting their hands on an item of power like this and using it to fuel spells that ultimately they're not prepared for the results of. And I really like the fact that most of this artwork is that purpley pink, but the Signet itself stands right out. You've got like all this different color of magic flowing up out of it. Like the magic was basically flowing all around this mage, and they literally had to let go of the Signet because the Signet's not shrinking while they are. So the Signet, the shrinking Signet. So the Signet is falling and is actually being like caught and cradled by these flowers. Overall, this has a very cool vibe to it, right? This is definitely a very solid include. This box set is clearly geared towards Commander players, as Arcane Signet may as well be pretty much a blank card in anything but Commander. What are you going to do with this card? Nothing, right? So that's the first card we have to talk about, and I have to admit that I am loving the concept of the Secret Lair, even if the artwork is crazy. Like, get ready. We're going into Crazy Town now, my friends. Commander's Sphere. Okay, so you've got a 3 casting cost artifact. You tap it, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and you can sacrifice it to draw a card. So you can see, pretty similar to the Arcane Signet. Again, very clearly tied into Commander, right? And it seems pretty solid. Again, a card that I imagine a lot of Commander players use. Now, the artwork and flavor behind it is absolutely insane. The flavor text says, clutching the orbit found in the lake, the frog let out a croak of enlightenment. I love this. The idea of this mystical commander sphere that will let you tap into essentially any type of power that the multiverse has at its disposal, right? And so this frog finds it, and it somehow creates this level of enlightenment where it's just like, I'm somehow, some weird frog can draw on the power of this commander sphere. It kind of is somewhat reminiscent of the Mirari's effect of mutating creatures and changing everything around it. I do like the idea of a really powerful object that changes and enhances the user. So you can take something as simple as what's most likely, like the way I picture this is a regular, everyday sort of frog. This isn't it was already intelligent, it could already like form reasonable thoughts. It's like, no, this is a very primal animal beast. It stumbles on this commander sphere and then gains power and insight and is not a good person. You know, like honestly, when you look at the artwork, look at the frog. He looks so angry. Look at those angry eyes. He's got his crazy little hat on with some kind of mystical design, and he's holding the sphere like cradled against him with one hand up in kind of an enlightened Buddha pose. And there's all kinds of nuttiness going on in the artwork around him. There's actually stuff trapped inside the commander sphere, right? You can see, to me, it kind of looks like a crazy yin and yang symbol, but with like a kind of a twist to it, like it's been pulled apart and they're circling inside there. And you've got like up in the corner, this crazy like face in the moon staring down. And the background feels almost like an old TV ad with the rays that are coming out. The sun's kind of staring down from the other side. So you got the sun and the moon. The idea is like becoming one with everything. You got the mountains on one side representing the earth. You got like that little bird on the other side representing the creatures of the earth. And well, I mean, whatever plane he's on, but you get what I'm saying, right? There's so much going on in this artwork that I feel like you could just talk about it endlessly almost. You know, the crazy little sequences of the moon that go out along the one side of the artwork leading up towards the moon. And you got all this stuff going on. I really dig this card. It is funky and seems like a great include. Now, let's see what craziness is next, my friends. That is the chromatic, I always want to say chromatic lantern. And this is another 3 casting cost artifact. Lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. And this artifact also taps for a mana of any color. So in terms of giving you access to every color you need, this card is great both inside and outside of Commander. This is clearly something you can just use in everyday regular Magic. Now, up until this point, Chromatic Lantern had been presented to us as a concept on the world of Ravnica, where essentially these lamps were a merging of guild alliances. So in one case, we see a chromatic lantern where it's spraying its light on the ground, and anywhere that light touches is considered neutral ground between all of the different guilds so that they can meet there and discuss without anybody having jurisdiction or whatever else over it, right? Which is a really funky concept, right? But now we've got this crazy sort of, like, dude, honestly, what's going on with this card? Read the flavor text. It says, the shaman souls were drawn to the astral lantern, like moths to a kaleidoscopic flame. I love the concept, like the term astral lantern. That sounds so cool, right? And is this thing actually in its entirety the chromatic lantern? What I can't figure out 100% is the 3 beings that are around it, the 3 different like ball beings. You've got the red one with the little pointy wizard's hat. They all have like birthday hats on, right? Like, I don't know what's going on in this artwork. It looks like there's like jelly beans and gumballs raining down on this gigantic owl lamp, and these kids are shaking it to get candy out of it or whatever, but then there's tubes linking between them where these could be planets or gumballs or whatever flowing between them, and the owl's eyes are these deep, dark pits with crazy, like, little painted designs around them. This artwork is amazing. I'm the first to admit it feels far from actual, like, normal Magic the Gathering art, but Secret Lair is exactly where you do this sort of thing, right? That's what the purpose of Secret Lair is, to experiment, to play around. And while this doesn't feel like something you would find anywhere normally in Magic, I do find the artwork really compelling in its colorful and curious nature. Like, what exactly is going on? I feel like it's some, I guess ultimately these individuals with the party hats are supposed to be shamans, and the rest of it is the Astral Lantern. I don't know, dude. That's really, really cool and seems like a great include for both Commander and non-Commander players. Although admittedly, this box is very, very, very slanted towards Commander players. So let's move on to the next very Commander player card, which is Darksteel Ingot. This is a wild piece of art here. But anyways, Darksteel Ingot is 3 mana. It's indestructible. Tap it to add a mana of any color to your mana pool. Surprise, surprise. I mean, the indestructible nature of it, I have to admit, by today's standards, this card isn't as exciting, especially with them making like Skyclave Relic, which is the same as this card, right? But either way, you've got an indestructible mana rock. The flavor text says, the Lich poured his soul into a new phylactery. True immortality was finally at his fingertips. This is a very funky card, right? So you've got this weird kind of like computer graphic animated sort of artwork, and you can see the Lich here. He's got like a comical aspect to him, right? And his Lichdom is portrayed in a number of ways. First of all, he has a skull-based face. Secondly, he's literally breaking apart at the joints, and you can see an arrow jammed through his leg, and yet he seems to still be fine. He's got his little like black skull necklace, this crazy scepter going on, and on his finger right here, that's where he's got the Darksteel Ingot. Now, the flavor behind this is a lot of fun. If you don't know how liches work, essentially liches can live forever. They are immortal. However, like most immortal beasts, there is some kind of weakness to them. So the lich's weakness is based on the phylactery. Their essence, what's left of their tattered, destroyed, and brutalized soul, is stored in some object. And if you can destroy that object, you destroy the lich. So some liches choose to use like powerful gems. Some liches actually choose to use their own like remains to like embed a phylactery into it, but that seems like a dicey maneuver, right? Because if somebody destroys you in combat, then all of a sudden your phylactery is destroyed at the same time. So I've always thought that personally, having an outer sort of vessel to store yourself within is wiser. Now, in this case, Darksteel Ingots are indestructible. I mean, imagine the glee of being a lich. To me, all the different background objects that you see, the little coins that are floating there, the jewels or whatever, these all represent different attempts at finding a suitable vessel to basically store his soul. And now he's found this Darksteel Ingot. He's finally found a rock that nothing can even scratch or do any damage to, and he gleefully pours his soul into it, knowing that from now on, absolutely nothing terrible can happen to him, right? He's like, that's the true level of immortality. Now, we all know there are ways to get rid of indestructible permanents, but from the perspective of a lich, liches aren't, in Magic the Gathering, they are not interplanar beings, right? So they're not going to be aware that different worlds exist. They're not going to be aware that planeswalkers have powerful enough magics that they could undo this. So from their perspective, where they are, that would be true immortality. I shall live forever. The ravages of time shall never destroy this stone. Nothing else can destroy the stone. And thus I too am indestructible. And I like that. Although I will fully admit, I understand some people will look at this artwork and go, this is too far outside of the realm of normal Magic art. But for me, I like it. Seems pretty good. I assume people still run this in Commander decks, or it wouldn't really have made its way into the secret lair. Although if I'm wrong about that, let me know. Because like I said, I'm going to be getting into Commander, but I am not currently well-versed in Commander. And now we have one final card left to talk about, which to me is absolutely the most exciting of the cards in this, okay? And that is the Gilded Lotus. Now, you know, it feels like a stark departure from the last few pieces of artwork that we've seen, and this actually very much does feel like Magic artwork, and it kind of gives me a half Seb McKinnon-ish vibe as well, right? The artist Mab Graves has absolutely nailed an amazing piece of artwork, And the way this whole card ties together really speaks to me. I love this so much. So, Gilded Lotus is a 5 casting cost artifact. Tap it to add 3 mana of any one color. I mean, that's crazy to begin with, right? Like, it's playing off the whole Black Lotus gives you 3 mana, but this is a reusable, non-sacrificed Lotus, and it's like gilded. It is coated in gold, right? So you've got the flavor text that says, the mage entered into a contract with the golden flower. She could wield its considerable power, but all would be lost should a single petal fall. I have to be real. The way that that flavor comes from the flavor text makes it feel as if this card should almost be like a legendary being. But the fact that the Gilded Lotus has its own kind of sentience and like going into a binding pact with it, I really, really dig that concept. I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with like the Bellium Blue Rose story with Sparhawk and everything, but it's a fantasy story that involves a dude who's like kind of intrinsically linked with a magical carved gemstone flower, and he can communicate with it, and he has to negotiate with it or enforce his will on it because it's its own being, which creates a really interesting dynamic. Great stories. If you haven't checked them out, you should do so. But yeah, it kind of gives me that vibe. Like, we've got this small little wizard. She feels very childlike to me. Now, this could just be that she's from a race where they're diminutive, and she could actually be a lot older, right? Like, there's kind of what feels like a bit of age under the eyes to me. I don't know if that's just my impression, but either way, she kind of feels older than she looks, right? And it's this moment of like, I feel like this is the moment where she's communing with the Gilded Lotus and making that sort of agreement where she's tapping into it. Either it's one of two scenarios. The Gilded Lotus is making its power known by making these little water droplets all float up and suspend themselves in the air, right? You can see all these little droplets of water that have floated up, and they're all kind of glowing out with this tiny little radiance that is emanating as well from the Gilded Lotus. So this could be a moment where she's taken aback and going, as the Gilded Lotus is literally just causing water to drop up, or like to raise up, or this is the moment where she's like made the agreement with the Lotus and it's allowing her to tap into its power, and this is just like she is tapping into the power, or just the power of the agreement between them. Like, as they make that contract, the water, like, there's just so much magical energy involved. The little droplets involuntarily drift upwards. It's got such a really cool magical feel, and she feels so different because she's got this crazy sort of winged head action going on, right? Normally, you'd have the wings sprouting from the back. Wings from the head are a bizarre concept. Can you fly with those? It just makes her very striking and distinctive as well. And the idea that you can go, like, this feels like old school magic, where you're a planeswalker and you're going out to these far-flung planes of existence with different exotic beasts and magical items, and just exploring what that world has to offer. And deep somewhere in this, like, maybe half swampy sort of bog. I mean, look at the area behind her. You've got all these like weeping willow style branches hanging down behind her, and it's got kind of a misty feel. It doesn't have the ominous menace of a swamp really, but it does kind of give that vibe. You've got the lily pads. I like the fact, I feel like she was off on the shore or something and spotted this Gilded Lotus, and completely uncaring of the damage it might do to her dress, because you can see the dress is submerged under the water. She's just moving towards this precious treasure. And then it like speaks into her mind and makes a deal that you can use my power, but you must preserve me. And if a single petal falls, all will be lost. And what does that mean? Does that mean all of the power, everything you've done with the power will be undone? Does that mean the unmaking of the multiverse? Does it mean the unmaking of the plane of existence that she's on? Like, there's so many places your imagination can go with it. It's such incredible flavor. Like, it's incredible flavor and absolutely breathtaking artwork. Like, dude, this is absolutely amazing. I am in love with this secret layer, especially this artwork. I desperately want this card, man. Honestly, I want all the stuff, but I want this Gilded Lotus for my cube because it's absolutely stunning. Just beautiful. So, my friends, all of these cards will be available in foil and non-foil. If it's something you're gung-ho about, I get it. I feel that vibe. And if it's something you're like, meh, not for me, totally cool. Who knows what the next secret layer will bring? Maybe there'll be something for you there. We'll find out, right? We'll take a look. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. If you like what I'm doing here, like, comment, subscribe. It's all great for the channel. If you love what I'm doing, then jump on my Patreon. Best way to support. Appreciate that a lot. Got some beautiful names scrolling by from the Patreon, and I'll leave a link up to a fun video on my other channel that I encourage you to go and check out. All right? Thanks for coming by, my friends. I'll see y'all very soon.